Alright guys, welcome back. This next video is probably the main reason why I use Exittix, or I plan on using Exittix more in my class, is strictly to expedite the reflection and the data analysis that I would normally do at home, or I would have to do quickly on the fly using dry erase boards or some sort of formative assessment, maybe a clicker, something like that, or a plicker where you can see the distribution of scores. I have to use a lot of my own professional judgment saying, well, maybe about 50% of the kids got it right, maybe about 50 of them didn't get it right, or maybe 75 didn't, and then set a threshold for, what is success. And that's why I really dig Exittix. Let me show you why. So let's select one of our classes. I'm going to select my third period, which is my honors class. So first, I like to just go right into the scoreboard. So you can see it tells you the score out of 100. It's color-coded. This allows the kids to be able to see their own scores. It helps me. You can export it to Excel. Really easy to put into BCPS1. You can even open up BCPS1 right next to it. I can open another tab and do BCPS1 here, and then just putting the scores in like that. It's really, really easy. Just do it side by side. Nothing difficult there, and it saves you the time. But the scorebook isn't the reason why I like it. Let's go at like I said, let's look at our assessments. What you can do is, I'm already in my class for my third period. I've selected the third period, so I'm in teacher mode, as you can see here. What you can do is you can go into the results. This happens after they've taken the assessment. After they take the assessment, and look at the wonderful data spread that they give you here. You get an average, you get a percent mastered. The mastered being, I set my mastered to 80%. You can change that if you would like. You can also see a distribution by problem, what percentage of the kids got problem 1 correct, what percentage of the kids got problem 2 correct, etc. Pretty easy to see that way. And here's your export scores button, which put it into Excel file if you prefer to work in Excel or you want to keep track in Excel. Maybe make some nice visuals. But like I said, look at this right here. It tells you how many kids completed it. It tells you the average and the distribution A, B, C, D. Now I'm colorblind, so the colors don't mean as much to me. But if we go in order of percentages, you'll notice that all the A's appear to be this color. It switches over to this lighter green color, etc., until you get to the red. Those are the students who are failing, who do below. And then the blue is students who have not put in an answer. And if you watch my earlier video, when you actually watch the student input in real time, you'll see these blue boxes go away. So like I said, you can arrange it by alphabetical order. You can arrange it by percentage. You can even arrange it by who did it the fastest. Which I tend not to use because I don't really think that's important. Another cool feature you'll see from again, this is the teacher mode, as you can see in this upper left-hand corner. In the teacher mode, you can see the students' names. You can see what they answered for each one. This was strictly a multiple choice assessment, so you could see Alicia chose A for 1, A for 2, A, B, D, etc. You'll notice that the red ones are incorrect, so I can see in real time what she's getting correct, what she's getting wrong. I know it can be a lot to process when you're looking at all this information at one time, but it's really, really helpful. It can help you pinpoint, even with this, look at this, all stars, people who are getting hundreds. You can see that list of hundreds. And then what's nice is you have this intervention hot list. So you can see and pinpoint the kids who are struggling very, very quickly and see exactly what questions they got wrong. Obviously, you don't want to just monitor these children. You want to monitor all the class, but this is one way you can do it. It's really nice. Another nice thing you can do, so let's get back to our overview of the entire thing. Again, nice overview of the entire class. If you go to, let's see, the reteach button, it gives you a breakdown. Again, we see the distribution right here, the same as on the previous screen, but now you can see who answered each question. Like I can see that these group of students selected A, which means that they didn't look for the properties of a perpendicular bisector, or didn't remember what an altitude is. So I can use these numbers and say, hey, 71% is a little bit low. That's below my threshold of mastery. What I can do is I can say, all right, we're going to spend a little more time differentiating between altitudes and perpendicular bisectors as opposed to wasting all this time with some of these other skills that I know that they have already mastered. I can see that they have mastered these. Let's focus just on the important stuff. This really makes our instructional time much more efficient, as well as, gives us more time to make these instructional decisions. I can make these instructional decisions on the fly. If this was a practice assignment as opposed to an exit ticket, I could modify my formative assessments to help me get them to a higher mastery for the summative assessment. I could change up those questions at the end and maybe have 2 or 3 different exit tickets and let the kids pick, well, which one do I want to take based upon their scores here. So like I said, it's really cool to see who's skipping problems, who's getting each problem wrong. As you can see, many of these kids did very well on this, but now I can, like I said, pinpoint those who are in that intervention hot list, exactly what questions they got right, exactly what questions that they got wrong. Really, really helpful. Really, really helpful. Again, here's our student response. You can select students as well, see what they answer on each one, and all you have to do to do that is just click on the student's name. Like, let's say I want to see how DeAndre did. DeAndre got 100, selected all of his questions properly. The average time answering was 15 seconds, so it's pretty quick as well. So you can see how helpful all this data is for the reflection process, as well as the modification of instruction on the fly. It gives you more time to use your teacher portion of your brain as opposed to the calculator portion of your brain. Now, this data does a lot of information for us. It can help us figure out the students who need additional help, the students who need to be challenged, and even pinpoint the students that are struggling a little bit exactly what they're struggling in. It does a good job for us to be able to analyze the student individually. We can even look at subgroups of students. I can figure out, which ones are my ESOL kids? Are they struggling? If so, what questions are they struggling in? I can see those numbers very easily. And you can also assess the class as a whole. So you can make these instructional decisions that would normally take you a while before because you'd have to grade, reflect, analyze. Now all the grading and analyzing is done for you in this really, really excellent visual format. It's very easy to follow. Even if you're not a math teacher like myself, you can easily follow this information. Can really give us more time to spend on the actual reflection, spending, well, what can I do, as opposed to how many more problems do I have to grade. And this is all, you'll notice, is all in the teacher mode. So this is what I look at as the kids are working. Now let's say I want to show the information to the kids. Then I would switch over to projector mode. Now I've been using projector mode more and more frequently because I'm trying to get my students more involved in the process of making decisions in our classroom, taking a little bit more ownership. So what I can do in this format is you'll notice that all the names are gone. It is just the student IDs, whom I know, and the students know their student ID. So it helps them keep track. Now what's also really cool about this is I can do by name, so I know what the students' names are. If I forget that Annalise is, what number she is, I can easily fix that by looking at a comparison sheet. I can do it by score. Again, that's also done by colors. Notice the color still stays here. Now, I have not really played around with the seat function, but in the class mode, you can actually have them done by seat and group them up. And again, here's the speed option, which like I said, I really don't know why they focus on that so much. I'll go back to the score so you guys can see the score. So imagine that you're a student and you're looking through the class, and I put this information up and say, all right, guys, let's look at that quiz that we just took. What type of problem do you think we should spend a little bit more time on? I think almost every kid in the class is going to say, well, we need to look at problems that like number 1, number 5, and number 9. Those are low scoring problems. It gets them involved in the process. Then they make the decision to say, okay, guys, we got an 88% average on this. Do you think we're ready to move on? And it gets them thinking as a whole and individually, have I mastered the objective? If so, what do I need to do to meet the rest of the class? Because let's say you're one of those students who scored a 40 or 50% on this. You got to be thinking to yourself, well, look at all these hundreds. Why am I the only one who's struggling? Was it because I didn't take very good notes? Was it because I was not paying attention? Was it because I didn't do homework? These are all very metacognitive skills that our students are going to need to know in order to be successful. So with this data, they're actually kind of taking the role of a teacher. They get to think how I would think and say, okay, now guys, like I said, are we ready to move on? Majority of the class is going to say yeah, except for these students down here. You see these red and the light green, I believe. Those students are going to be a little discouraged. But what this data does for me is I can say, all right, we can move on, and I can grab these students. I can take these students and work with them and give them a little bit of an intervention to get them caught up. So they'll start to realize that even though this is an assessment, it's more diagnostic for themselves. They can think to themselves, well, why wasn't I successful? Which I think is a really important aspect of the classroom that we're not utilizing enough. Getting the students involved in that decision-making process as, have we met the objective? If so, what can we do to meet the objective? You can ask the kids, hey, Do we need to do another assessment? Do we need to practice a little bit more? Are we ready to move on? Is there a certain type of problem we should look at? It really gets them involved. Administrators and leadership in my school really seem to like this because it gets them more involved in the creative process. And we see the students more as creators as opposed to just like these unreflective observers of instruction, like a sponge. They just absorb. We want them to output something too. This can be really, really helpful in creating a classroom where the students kind of take a lead. And, just to be predictive, with this type of information, if a student sees that they're doing poorly, like in this projector mode, or whether or not, as a teacher, I go into teacher mode and analyze it, they might say, all right, well, obviously I had trouble with, I'll just use Brad as an example. If I click on Brad can look at his score and say, oh man, look at these problems I got wrong. How can I adjust it? What objective was this? Was it because I didn't know how to interpret a diagram? Was it because I didn't know the properties of a certain diagram? Or did I not understand the notation? He can see these common faults or maybe these regular things that he's doing to get questions wrong, and maybe go out online and on his device and look up, maybe say, I need to look up a video on reading geometric notation, or I need to look up a video on the centers of a triangle, specifically the circumcenter or specifically the centroid, and applying their properties. It really is a great diagnostic tool for me and the students. So you can see how helpful this data really is. And like I said, this is the big thing that comes from Exittix, is to be able to expedite that reflection analysis process so you can spend more time thinking about what's best for your students in and out of the classroom. Well, I hope this was helpful for you guys. I plan on making a few more videos on this. If you go back to my YouTube channel, I'll put my email address. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions, and I'd be glad to help. Thank you.